Yo, what is going on, guys? Surge Danger here, and welcome back to my last ever episode, video on The Flash Season 5. As we know, next year will obviously be The Flash Season 6, and I will be doing my review for the season finale, which is Season 5, Episode 22 of this season, otherwise entitled Legacy. So, last episode was obviously the penultimate episode, and basically it's the same thing as Arrow, as it does continue like right after last episode. And essentially Ruff just figures out Thawne's plan, and meanwhile Barry's about to blast the dagger with using the mirror gun, and he does shoot it, and that's basically a cliffhanger. So we basically start off the episode with this nice slow-mo scene, and essentially Ralph manages to dive in on time. So, and as he is the elongated man, whatever hits him could bounce off back, as Cicada's dagger basically temporarily doesn't dampen Meta's powers. So Ralph manages to dive in on time, and the dagger hits Ralph, and then it just bounces away. And then the mirror gun the blast coming from the mirror gun hits Ralph, and instead of him being thrown into another dimension, thanks to Caitlin, later on in the episode, we find out that his cells were reversed, which makes him look abnormal, and indeed makes him look like Korg from the MCU. And if you don't know who he is, I'll just display his picture right now so you could see the difference. And we do know that Raph also struggles to speak after he got stretched back into normal form. And unsurprisingly, which was obviously the main focus of last season 5, and it was basically Cicada just taking the dagger and running off one last time. Just like how this Cicada character didn't ruin this season enough already. We then find out that Grace wants to use the time sphere to travel back to 2014 for a purpose, and that purpose is so she could go back to 2014 to visit the night of the particle when the particle accelerator exploded, so she could wipe out all the metahumans over there, as the Flash technically that didn't exist and was just born over there, and Barry would technically be on his coma but at that time. So Cicada's plan was basically to launch the virus during that time so she could kill all metahumans without being stopped. We do know that this plan would fail since the start, as we do know that Team Flash would use this time sphere for something later on. I'll get to that part in that episode. So thanks to our favorite Wells, aka the Master Detective, who is obviously Sherlock Wells. He then also figures out what Thawne's plan was while Ralph was still in that embarrassing predicament. And Sherlock basically explains that Cicada's dagger is linked to Thawne's escape. And Barry, who is obviously the hero, decides to save Thawne and destroy the dagger. And then we shift to 2049, and we see that security guard who contacted the Flash Museum, as he does give the ring to Reverse Flash in some necklace form, and he did want Thawne to put it on while he was getting executed. And next we get this boring moment between Cisco and Camilla, and basically Cisco just reveals to her that he's Vibe, and we do get vibes that Cisco might actually be leaving at the end of this episode. However, there were actually rumors saying Carlos Valdez, aka the actor for Cisco, did actually renew his contract, but towards the end of the episode, it doesn't look like that's the case, and it does actually look like Cisco left. Basically, Camilla just accepts Cisco about the fact that he's Vibe. We also had this cool moment with Cisco as well, as we know Korg Ralph was still Korg Ralph, and thanks to Sherlock we know that it would reverse the reversed cells, meaning if Cisco used his Vibe Blast to hit Ralph, then it would just turn off back to its normal state. And then we then see Team Flash walking towards Cicada's cabin in the woods once again to convince Grace to take the cure. And we also do see Joe throw the extrapolator and traps Grace in some Speed Force trap, which we last saw last episode, but where it played the major part, we saw it back in season 1, where Cisco obviously failed to trap the Reverse Flash. Basically, we see Grace, and she was so powerful that she managed to destroy that shield. I was just hoping the extrapolator would have breached her to some power dampening cell, as it would have easily been the end of Cicada without technically destroying the dagger, and would also prevent Thawne's escape as well. While Nora is in the cabin, Nora basically convinces 2019 Grace to take the cure. However, it doesn't work, as she has so much dark matter on her forehead that technically the meta cure cannot even stop it. 2019 Grace also does wake up from her coma, and we do also see Barry about to witness Nora die, as 2049, I guess, Cicada is about to kill her with the dagger, and Cisco technically breaches the mirror gun to where Barry is, and then Barry takes the mirror gun and shoots at the dagger, and then we see Grace get erased from existence with the dagger being destroyed, and now, yeah, we see Grace basically Thanos, if you want to call it, although DCTV had that Thanos idea before, as we did see Thawne back in season 1 in the same state. And now moving on to like the more awesome part of this episode, which technically saved this entire episode. And now moving on to 2049, which, as I said earlier on, this is the most exciting part of the episode. And essentially the dagger goes off, as in 2019 the dagger's just been destroyed, and the dagger goes off right before the lightning the security guard used on the lever is about to hit Thawne, and you witness the negative speed force ignite, and that's when I start getting chills, and then I'm just like, ooh, you guys are so screwed, and Thawne breaks out, and we get that sick burn on Thawne's prison outfit as well, which it had that Cicada's dagger stain, but it wasn't like that Reverse Flash silhouette, which was cool to see. And we do then see, after that like smoke and stuff, we do see Thawne look so much younger, and it's probably due to the insane makeup that they put on him, and it did look really ridiculous. And I'm assuming it's just that mascara and eyelining, whatever it is. I'm not really a makeup artist, so I have no clue. Yeah, Thawne does really look ridiculous at this point. And before Thawne killed those guards, I was hoping that he would actually leave that main guard, who we saw well throughout season 5, last, and he could just finish him off in his classical Reverse Flash move. But basically, Thawne kills those guards, and then he uses his finger to like get him into flash time, I believe, and that guy's then in flash time, and then Thawne's just he's giving him the taste of his own medicine, and basically we see Thawne electrocuting him and then doing the classical Reverse Flash, which is just crushing his heart. And then Nora then rewinds time, which was a pretty good scene, and most fans were disappointed in this, but I did really find it cool. And we see the face-off between Thawne versus XS and the Flash. We get a flashback to one of Thawne's plans, and it was a flashback to the mid-season finale of this season, being season 5 episode 8, What's Past This Prologue. And we find out how Nora mentioning Cicada in that 2014 timeline actually helped Thawne develop his plan of trust, as he needed to get Nora to trust him. Next, we get this chase scene, which was so cool, and it's so cool to watch. And it was basically Thawne creating a speed mirage midway to lure Nora to somewhere else, so that Barry could chase Thawne. And then Thawne does end up tripping Nora and Barry as the speed mirage ducked down, and then Thawne did that, I believe, supersonic punch it was. I can't really remember. And technically, Nora and Barry just fall down, and Thawne's basically about to get the win. We then see Team Flash knock Thawne out with the Time Sphere, as we do see the other members of Team Flash come to 2049 to face off the Reverse Flash. And we get this short but fun fight scene between Thawne and Team Flash. And Cisco's powers were probably like the best thing in that scene, and I did get really pissed off that Cisco uses the metahuman cure later on, as this scene was probably one of the highlights of the episode. And we then see Nora and Barry supersonic punch Thawne, and Thawne basically flies away, and he does some triple backflip and falls down. And Nora then uses the negative speed force inside of her, and she's about to reverse flash Thawne, meaning vibrating hand through the chest. However, she fails, as we know, as thanks to Thawne, we know that a new timeline is being set, as it does take time to make a new timeline after Cicada's dagger has been destroyed. So Nora was being erased from existence, and due to the negative speed force being immune to the timeline changes, Barry and Nora go there. I don't really know how Barry managed to get in there. I do understand Nora going in there because she's been into negative speed force before, but whatever. And Nora basically getting out of this negative speed force, and Iris is just going like, "What are you doing?" and stuff. And Nora mentioning that like having negative emotions, being evil like Thawne, shouldn't be her legacy. And then we see the death of Nora West Allen. So now we get a second Nora killed thanks to Thawne. And we did hear Thawne say, "See you in the next crisis." So I do feel like, so yeah, we will see Thawne in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is next year. And I do have a possible theory. It's a short theory, but I will be mentioning it at the end of the episode. And just to mention, I do feel that Nora isn't dead, because I don't really know why, but maybe it's because of the same thing that happened to Thawne back in season 1, where Eobard got erased from existence, and then technically is still alive, as we did see him in front of our screens this episode. And we do know that this Thawne isn't a different Thawne, and this Thawne is indeed the Thawne that lived everything, including the season 1 events all the way till Crisis on Earth X. And I am hoping we do, if Nora is dead, I am hoping that we do see some sort of Nora next season onwards, or maybe we could get some Tornado Twins set up as well. But it was said that we would still see Nora appear after season 5. I mean, it could just be no spoiler things, but I don't know. And then towards the end, we get this montage where basically some members of Team Flash essentially leave, and we see Sherlock leave Team Flash. We see Cisco take the cure, which got me so mad, and now I officially hate Cisco, like screw him now. And Captain Singh being the chief of CCPD, and Joe being captain. And then we get this cool mention of Singh saying he knew that Barry was the Flash and that he's a detective, obviously. The cool part of this one was we get Ralph in his apartment, and he's holding this case, and this case is entitled Dearbin. And if you don't know who Dearbin is, in the comics, Dearbin is I think it was the middle name for Sue Dibney, who's Ralph's future wife. So I'm excited to see how they will set this relationship up next season onwards. And we do see Nora's goodbye message as well, and Caitlin getting a new suit, which is obviously not made yet, so they will be saving that for next year. And lastly, I will get to that Thawne theory in a second, but we see the newspaper in the post-credits scene, and in the time well, and the timeline changes to 2019. However, we don't see the full date or the full newspaper after it. So the newspaper could have been fully altered, as most likely Thawne has no idea about Oliver's sacrifice in Elseworlds, which Oliver's sacrifice would most likely end up saving the day. And I will be doing a crisis video on the for the Flash as well, as I will go into depth of what happened in that post-credit scene. Lastly, I would like to say that the Monitor will also be appearing for for Supergirl's finale. So if you watch Supergirl, then get ready for him. And also, I don't know how next season of The Flash or Supergirl would play out, as we know that Arrow got a 5 or maybe more month time jump, meaning that the other shows are delayed. I mean, this wouldn't be a problem for the Legends because it's a time travel show, so they could just time travel there. But for Flash and Supergirl, it's different. So just tell me in the comments if you have any ideas, because I absolutely have no idea how they could resolve this. And overall, this season was rubbish and probably as bad as season 4 of Arrow. However, excluding the Thawne stuff. And I believe that Thawne actually saved this season. And I just rate this episode a solid 9. And thanks for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.